You know when you're hungry for knowledge, but you also need it fast. Like
Yeah.
you want the deep dive, but you don't have all day.
Exactly.
This is that deep dive. We're zeroing in on 201 Sex Games, 1001 Nights of Pleasure. It's by Pero Manilos. It's a pretty wild ride through a ton of creative ways to spice things up.
Yeah, and this book is translated from Spanish, so it brings a unique perspective to, practical ways to really heat things up in the bedroom.
Right, right. And that's what we're after here, more than just a surface summary. We're digging into the core insights. What are the surprising facts? What are those actionable strategies that can actually make a difference in your intimate life? We're talking about moving beyond the same old routine, adding some real zest to your sexual experiences.
Absolutely, taking it to a whole new level.
Okay, so the book jumps right in, and it's not pulling any punches. It claims that the #1 mistake women make is showing little initiative.
Wow, yeah, that's a bold statement.
It is. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, it's interesting because it really challenges the traditional roles.
Yeah.
We often assume that one partner, usually the man, is supposed to be the one who initiates everything. But this book is saying, hey, when women step up and actively express their desires, when they're the ones initiating intimacy, it creates a much more balanced and exciting dynamic. It's about sharing that desire.
I see, I see. And it's not just about starting things, right? It's
Yeah.
about the ongoing conversation, or maybe the lack of conversation. It's like the book is shouting, stop expecting your partner to be psychic, assuming they just automatically know what you want. That's a recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the book says, and I love the directness of this, try telling him.
Uh-huh, no kidding.
I mean, it sounds simple, but clear communication, it's the foundation of good sex. Instead of hoping your partner will magically guess what you're thinking, tell them what you want.
Yeah.
It's a roadmap to pleasure for both of you. And honestly, it avoids a lot of potential frustration down the line.
So true. Now let's flip the script for a second and look at a common complaint from women. The lack of foreplay. The book says 100% of women mention this. 100%.
Yeah, it's clearly a recurring theme.
So what's the deeper meaning here?
Well, especially for women, foreplay is not just a warm-up. It's essential for building that physical and emotional connection that leads to orgasm, that leads to overall satisfaction. And the book is packed with foreplay suggestions, which shows how important it is. It's not something to rush or skip. It's about creating a journey together, sensual journey.
Yeah, a journey, yeah. And the book gets even more specific about what not to do, particularly for men. There's a warning against entering her without warning, and another warning against stopping right when she doesn't want to stop. These are really about being present and attentive, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's not just about the mechanics. It's about respect, being in tune with your partner. Entering without warning. That could be jarring, physically and emotionally. And stopping too soon can leave her feeling unsatisfied and disconnected. The book really stresses paying attention to those cues, verbal and nonverbal, throughout the entire experience.
All right, so let's move past the basics now. The book is all about shaking things up, trying new things, experimenting. It famously says there is no such thing as boring sex, only boring lovers. Talk about a wake-up call. What's the key message behind that?
It's a great quote, and it basically puts the responsibility for a vibrant sex life back on the individuals. It's not about chasing some elusive ideal. It's about being curious, being creative together. It's empowering,
Yeah.
You have the power to make things exciting.
It's in your hands. And the book lays it all out, right?
Yeah.
You've got warm-ups, you've got action, you've got surprise. Give us a taste of what each of those entails.
Okay, so picture it like this. Warm-ups. They're the gentle invitations, the sensual touch, the suggestive whispers. It's about building anticipation. Then you've got action, and this is where you're exploring erogenous zones, different positions, different techniques. And finally, you hit surprise, which is all about those elements of novelty, pushing boundaries, maybe incorporating toys or fantasies. It's like a roadmap for gradually escalating intimacy and excitement.
I like that, a roadmap. Okay, so the book also divides the suggestions into games for her and games for him. But it's clear that these aren't meant to be strict categories, right?
No, not at all. The book encourages you to mix and match, adapt. The labels are just a starting point, like sparks of inspiration. The real magic happens when you blend them together, make them your own, make them work for you as a couple.
Okay, I get it. There's one game that really stood out to me, the Guess What I'm Gonna Do to You game. You have a cardboard box, and you write down fantasies on colored paper for different levels of intensity. It just seems so playful and intriguing.
Yeah, it's a really fun way to introduce mystery and vulnerability. You're both contributing your fantasies anonymously, so it's easier to express things you might be shy about saying out loud. And the colors add an element of surprise.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get. It's an adventure, exploring each other's inner worlds.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about setting the scene because the book really emphasizes creating a sensual environment. It even draws on Tantra the idea of engaging all five senses. Why is that so important?
Because it makes the experience so much richer, so much more immersive. It's not just a physical act, it's emotional, it's atmospheric. It's like creating layers of sensation that heighten arousal and deepen your connection. And Tantra, in this context, it's all about being present, being fully aware of what you're sensing in the moment.
Okay, let's break down those senses one by one. Music is a big one. The book suggests everything from peaceful melodies to more energetic rhythms. And there's even mention of a dildo that vibrates to music.
Yeah, music is powerful, it affects our mood, our energy levels. The book suggests using different types of music to set the tone for different stages of intimacy. And that dildo, the Omnibod, it's a cool example of how technology can enhance the experience. It's like the music is literally becoming part of the physical sensation.
Wow. Okay, what about smell? The book talks about perfumed linens with essential oils like almond and lavender, incense with scents like jasmine and vanilla. They're all supposed to have aphrodisiac qualities, right?
Right. Smell is incredibly powerful. It's so strongly linked to memory and emotion. Certain aromas can trigger feelings of relaxation, arousal, even specific memories. So the book is tapping into that, creating an olfactory environment that's pleasing and conducive to intimacy.
It makes sense. Okay, let's move on to sight. What kind of visual cues does the book recommend?
It's all about creating a soft, intimate atmosphere. Shadowy corners with candles, dim red lighting, maybe even incorporating some erotic art. It's about shifting away from that harsh, everyday lighting and creating a more sensual ambiance.
And then there's taste. The book suggests serving edible treats on the body, like whipped cream or chocolate. That sounds so playful and sensual.
It is. It's about bringing in the sensuality of taste, the eroticism of the body. It adds a fun, lighthearted element. It blurs the lines between eating and intimacy. It's an invitation to explore, to touch, to taste.
Touch is another big one, right?
Absolutely.
What are some of the touch-based ideas from the book?
Oh, there's so many. Talks about gentle breast massage, the feel of silk on the skin, feathers dipped in edible powders, even menthol-based gels for that tingling sensation. It's all about exploring the full range of tactile sensations, different textures, temperatures. You discovered what delights you and your partner.
Okay, so let's talk about positions. The book has some interesting ones. A delicious position for gentle penetration, the spoon for deeper connection, and standing positions like lover's union and the surprise. What's the benefit of going beyond the standard positions?
Well, different positions offer unique angles, different depths of penetration, different levels of intimacy. They allow you to experience new sensations, connect in new ways. It keeps things from becoming predictable, physically. And standing positions, especially, can add a sense of playfulness and novelty.
Now, the book doesn't shy away from oral sex. It emphasizes taking your time during cunnilingus, exploring different techniques during blowjobs, and even mentions analingus. It's quite thorough.
It is. It really encourages exploring oral sex as a significant source of pleasure for both partners. And it stresses the importance of being attentive, varying techniques, not rushing. It acknowledges that people experience pleasure differently, and that's okay.
There's even a specific position called the grinder for clitoral stimulation.
Yes, and that underscores how important direct clitoral stimulation is for many women to achieve orgasm. By highlighting this specific position, the book is emphasizing the value of techniques that really focus on that erogenous zone.
I see. And then we have the Kama Sutra nights with examples like the arch, the elephant, the tease, and the butterfly. It sounds like a whole evening dedicated to adventure.
Exactly. These are just a few examples drawn from the ancient Kama Sutra. And the book encourages exploring it further for inspiration. It's about adding variety and new sensations to your encounters. These positions, they're often more intricate, more challenging, and they can be a fun way to explore physicality and connection.
Okay, so let's talk about toys and accessories. Benoit balls are mentioned, even with a rather daring expert trick involving remote control in public.
Yeah.
That's taking things to a whole new level.
That definitely pushes the boundaries. But the book talks about different types of Benoit balls and how they can provide internal stimulation, improve muscle tone, and that remote control aspect, it adds a layer of, like, shared secret, a potential for unexpected sensations.
Wow. Vibrators also get a shout out, including the famous Rabbit and those new USB-powered options. Technology just keeps innovating, huh?
It really does. And the inclusion of these specific examples, it shows how much more mainstream vibrators have become, how much variety there is. And those USB-powered ones, they highlight how accessible these tools are now, how integrated they are into our modern lives.
We also see a mention of vibrator rings and even edible lingerie. It seems like the possibilities for adding novelty are truly endless.
Yeah, there's so much out there to explore. And these examples, they show how you can enhance those sensory experiences, add an element of fun and surprise to your intimate moments.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about fantasies and role-playing. The book brings up the common male fantasy of forced sex and encounters in public places. It's important to understand the context here, right?
Absolutely. The book is very clear that this is about conceptual exploration within a safe and consensual environment. It's not about condoning any kind of non-consensual activity. It's about exploring those power dynamics, those forbidden scenarios, but always within agreed-upon boundaries as part of a fantasy.
And then there's a good spanking, with clear rules and a safe word established beforehand.
Right, communication and consent are crucial in any kind of exploration like that. Any BDSM elements have to be rooted in open communication, clear boundaries, enthusiastic consent. Setting rules and a safe word ensures that everyone feels safe and respected throughout the experience.
Role-playing also gets a mention, with suggestions like a bad girl being punished or a music teacher scenario. It sounds like a fun way to step outside of everyday roles.
It is. Role-playing is a fantastic way to explore different aspects of desire, power dynamics, but in a low-stakes environment. You adopt different personas, different scenarios, and can really unlock new sources of arousal and excitement.
And for those who enjoy a bit of performance, there's the showgirl striptease idea and the repair shop concept where you openly share your fantasies.
I love those. It encourages creativity, open dialogue about what you desire. The striptease, it adds that visual element, the seduction, the anticipation. And the repair shop idea, it fosters intimacy through vulnerability. You're sharing your inner world, validating each other's desires.
Okay, so for the truly adventurous, the book lists a variety of unconventional locations for sex. We're talking jacuzzis, fitting rooms, parking garages, even public transportation.
Wow.
That definitely adds an element of risk and excitement.
It does. It taps into that thrill of the unexpected. And sometimes those non-traditional settings can actually heighten arousal. But of course, it's important to be mindful of your surroundings to make sure anything you do is consensual and doesn't make anyone else uncomfortable or unsafe.
And for those fleeting moments, there's the concept of quickies. Seizing those opportune times, like before work or even driving through a short tunnel, it's like efficiency meets excitement.
Right, exactly. Quickies can be a fun way to inject spontaneity, release tension, even when you're busy. They're those little bursts of connection.
Okay, let's talk about massage. The book describes a tantric massage, an erotic Chinese massage, and a sensual massage using aromatic oils. These sound incredibly indulgent and focused on connection.
They are. They really emphasize that sensual and emotional connection between partners. You're using touch, using aroma to build intimacy and arousal. Tantric massage, for instance, is often about the flow of energy, heightened sensory awareness. It's a much deeper connection than just the physical act.
And for those who want to explore even further, there's sexual gymnastics based on Taoist practices and specific tantric oral positions.
Yeah, these are more specialized practices. They combine physical movement, breath work, specific techniques. And the goal is to enhance sexual energy and pleasure, often with a focus on prolonged intimacy and mutual satisfaction.
Now, the book brings it back to the brain, reminding us that it's the most important erogenous zone.
So true.
And it highlights all those other erogenous zones beyond the genitals, the breasts, the neck, the earlobes, even the perineum. It mentions specific spots like the G spot, the K spot, and the U spot. It's like a reminder that pleasure can be found all over.
It absolutely can. And for anyone who might not be familiar with those spots, the G spot is an area on the front wall of the vagina about an inch or two inside. And when it's stimulated, it can be incredibly pleasurable. The K spot is sometimes referred to as an area around the opening of the urethra, and it can be sensitive for some. And the U spot, that's another sensitive area located around the clitoris. The point is, pleasure isn't just localized to the genitals. Exploring these other areas can unlock new sensations and really enhance overall arousal.
I love that. And finally, no discussion of intimacy would be complete without talking about kisses and bites. The book outlines the best kiss techniques, different types of kisses, even playful biting.
Right.
It shows how even these seemingly simple acts can be incredibly sensual.
Absolutely. The book takes kissing and biting beyond just a prelude to sex. It presents them as integral parts of intimacy, exciting in their own right. Varying pressure, using your hands, incorporating gentle biting, it all adds layers of sensation and intensity. A kiss can become so much more profound, so much more arousing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into 201 sex games, it's clear that this book is packed with inspiration for anyone who wants to bring more excitement, more intimacy into their sex life.
There really is. It's a reminder that with a little curiosity, a willingness to try new things, we can unlock deeper levels of pleasure and connection.
So for you, our listener, I want you to think about what really stood out to you, what resonated, what sparked your curiosity, and more importantly, what's one small step you can take this week to introduce a little more spice, a little more discovery into your intimate life.
That's a great question. And it leads to a final thought. What small imaginative step could you take this week to explore the deeper possibilities of pleasure, either with your partner or even just within your own sensuality?
It's an ongoing journey, isn't it? This path to a more fulfilling sex life. And as this book so beautifully illustrates, there's always something new to discover,
That was all.
always something new to learn.